Orphan, a 2009 psychological horror film directed by Jaume Collet-Serra and written by David Leslie Johnson from a story by Alex Mace. The film follows a couple and their family where they end up adopting and welcoming a young child called Esther into their family. Couple Kate and John Coleman think they now have the perfect life with the perfect family, but something is very wrong with Esther. This is a great film with lots of action, twists and turns, and some truly horrifying moments. So grab yourselves a cuppa and get yourselves comfy, and let's take a look at 10 moments from the movie Orphan. Number 10, the opening nightmare. The movie begins with Mother Kate coming into hospital in full labour. She's put onto a wheelchair and she is asked by the nurses if this is her first child, but she says no, it's our third. As Kate is being wheeled into the ward, she starts having really bad contractions. Before you know it, she is leaking blood, a lot of blood, and she's leaving a trail of it behind her. Next minute, Kate is in bed with all the doctors and nurses who are telling Kate that they are so sorry for her loss, your baby has died, which is not the words that anyone wants to hear. Kate then replies saying, my child's not dead, I can feel it moving. All of a sudden, her husband John comes up and he's filming the birth with a camera, and even though he's just had the news that his baby has died, you're thinking like, what the hell are we watching? What is going on here? Next minute, the doctor pulls out this machine that sucks things out from inside the mother, and when he turns the button on, my god, those screams that come out of Kate's mouth still haunt me to this very day. The nurses then put Kate's baby onto her lap saying, congratulations, you've got yourself a baby girl, but this baby isn't a baby, it's a scary creature covered in blood and it's making scary baby noises. It's literally disgusting. But then Kate wakes up and we learn that it was all a nightmare, setting this amazing movie up beautifully. Number 9, Esther breaks a girl's leg. Okay, so Esther has been welcomed into the family and all seems well, or is it? When Esther starts her first day in school, she clashes with another little girl called Brenda. Later on in the movie, Esther is taken to the park by her father John, where Esther spots Brenda playing in the park. John has his attention sidetracked by a neighbour, and Esther decides to go into the park and hide. Brenda notices that Esther is nowhere to be seen and is a little bit creeped out. She walks around the park and climbs the frames very slowly, thinking that Esther might be playing a prank on her. It's a creepy moment where the intense levels keep rising. As soon as Brenda gets to the top of the slide, she ends up looking down, but then all of a sudden, Esther pops out from behind her and comes running at her, pushing Brenda from the top of the slide, and Brenda snaps her leg on the side of the slide on the way down, with Esther at the top watching with a menacing face. Number 8, Esther picks Jessica's flowers. In the movie, there is a scene where Esther bonds with her mum while playing the piano, and Kate shows Esther a family book that she's been making, to which Esther then asks Kate who Jessica is. Kate then takes Esther to Jessica's memorial plaque in a greenhouse area of the house, surrounded by some beautiful flowers that Kate and John have both planted. Jessica is a baby that Kate and John sadly lost before they adopted Esther. So a little bit more later on, Esther comes skipping into the kitchen and tells Mum Kate that she has a special surprise for her. When Kate turns around, she is horrified to find that Esther has picked all of the flowers from Jessica's memorial. Look at Esther's face, she takes great delight in what she has just done. Kate understandably freaks out and she tries to grab the flowers from Esther, and a little bit of a struggle takes place, but John comes over and he takes the blame because he's the one who told Esther that she should do something nice. But Kate knows that something sinister is definitely going on with Esther. Number 7, Esther breaks her own arm. Following on from our previous entry, and after that little scuffle in the kitchen, Esther heads down into the basement, where she ends up putting her arm into a vice. She puts a towel in her mouth and then she starts to tighten the vice tighter and tighter, until all of a sudden, snap. A bone in her arm breaks and pops. It's so gross, you can see the bone pop up against the skin. It always makes me feel queasy when I see this scene. Esther then goes to bed, where she's crying out in pain for her daddy. John comes in to check on her and she tells him that her arm is still hurting. So John takes a look and he sees that Esther's arm is black and that they are gonna have to go to the hospital. It's a horrible, sickening, spiteful trick that Esther pulls, and of course Kate ends up getting the blame for breaking Esther's arm. Number 6, Esther kills Sister Abigail. A disturbing scene now in our next spot, and Sister Abigail from the orphanage has come to see Kate and John, telling them that Esther has been involved in a lot of other children's accidents in the past, and goes on to say that she thinks that there could be something wrong with Esther. Esther is at the top of the stairs listening to all of this and she starts to panic. She gets little sister Max to help her with a little game, saying that there is a mean old woman that's come to take her away. So Esther takes Max out of the house and across the woods, where they wait by the side of the road that's just under a bridge, and Esther tells Max that they're gonna scare the mean old lady so she will never come back. As Sister Abigail is driving over the bridge, Esther then pushes Max out onto the road, and Sister Abigail ends up driving off the road as she narrowly misses Max. Sister Abigail goes to check on Max, but behind her is Esther holding a hammer. Esther then smashes Sister Abigail in the head, knocking her clean out. Esther then forces Max to help drag Sister Abigail off the side of the road and into the woods, where it's totally messed up. Once they do this, Sister Abigail starts to wake up and she's trying to drag herself up out of the snow. But Esther is back with her hammer and she starts to smash Sister Abigail in the head over and over again, to the point where there is just blood splattering everywhere, and eventually kills her. Like I said, it's a really messed up scene that shows you just how dangerous Esther really is. Number 5, Esther tries to burn Daniel alive. Younger brother Daniel finds the murder weapon that Esther used to kill Sister Abigail in his treehouse. But Esther catches him in the act, and before he has a chance to escape, Esther starts to pour flammable liquid into the treehouse and towards Daniel's feet. She doesn't even hesitate when she lights up her match and just throws it straight away, where the treehouse goes up in flames. Esther climbs out of the door hatch and locks it from the outside, trapping Daniel. It's a horrifying scene and it really does get your heart racing, but Daniel tries to climb out of the treehouse window and he's there screaming for his mom, while Esther is down on the ground watching and smiling. Daniel manages to climb out, but he almost falls through the roof at one point. At this stage, the whole treehouse is engulfed by the flames, and Daniel has no choice but to try and jump onto a tree branch. He holds on for as long as he can before slipping and falling from a very great height. While he is laying on the floor unconscious, Esther picks up a huge rock and is about to smash it over Daniel's head, but little sister Max rugby tackles Esther down before she gets a chance. Kate then spots the fire and she runs out to check on everyone. Will Daniel be okay or will Esther win? Number 4, Esther suffocates Daniel. Moving straight on from our last spot, and Daniel is in hospital with serious injuries, but Esther is headed straight for Daniel's unit, where she ends up climbing on top of him, taking off his breathing mask and then slams down a pillow onto his face. Little sister Max knows something is wrong and she tries to get her mum's attention. Meanwhile, Esther is struggling down and suffocating Daniel, and then all of a sudden, Daniel stops breathing. Esther then puts back on Daniel's mask and runs out. Kate and John then see all the doctors running into Daniel's room, where they start resuscitating him. It's a moment of panic, but they just about manage to save him. Kate knows Esther had something to do with this, and when Esther comes back with her drink, Kate runs at her and slaps her down to the ground, calling her a bitch and all sorts, and Kate literally has to be restrained at this point. Once again, this is quite a disturbing scene. Watching one kid trying to literally kill another kid is quite a taboo subject in movies, but this movie has it all. I gotta say though, I was silently cheering in the cinema when Kate slapped Esther to the ground. Number 3, a shocking twist. John ends up taking Esther and Max home while Kate is kept in hospital after her mental outburst. Now this is the uncomfortable moment where Esther dresses up in a revealing dress and wearing a load of makeup, and she starts to flirt with her adoptive dad John on the sofa. Of course, John freaks out at what Esther is trying to do and he sends her to her room. Kate, meanwhile, at the hospital, gets a phone call from the mental institute that she contacted earlier on in the movie. This is where it's revealed that little girl Esther is not really a little girl at all. She's a fully grown woman. Her real name is Lena, who suffers with a rare hormonal disorder that stunted her physical growth and caused proportional dwarfism, and she has spent most of her life posing as a little girl. She's violent and dangerous and has murdered at least 7 people, including the last family that adopted her. Wow, now that is what you call a twist. Number 2, Esther kills John. I was always a little bit gutted when this happened, but after Kate received that news about Esther, she jumps straight in the car and races home. Meanwhile, Esther has murder in mind. The power goes off in the house and John goes around looking for Esther and Max to make sure that they are okay. As he's looking around, all of a sudden we hear a thud and he feels a pain in his back, to where Esther has just stabbed him. John then falls to the floor and Esther jumps on top of him, stabbing him and stabbing him over and over again until he is dead. It's brutal and shocking, and like I said, I was always a little bit gutted that John was killed off. But then saying that, if John had actually listened to his wife Kate much earlier on in the movie, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. So I suppose it's a little bit bittersweet. Before we get to number 1, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We currently upload new videos every week and we are really looking to grow this channel, so make sure to hit that notification bell as well. Number 1, final showdown. After Kate gets home to find her dead husband on the floor, she manages to get daughter Max after a fight with Esther, where we are led to believe that Esther is dead. As Kate and Max get away from the house, they see police arriving in the distance, but all of a sudden Esther comes running out from nowhere and tackles Kate, where they both end up on a big frozen pond. Now Esther is literally going crazy at this point. She's on top of Kate and she's trying to stab her, but Kate is putting up a good struggle. Then young Max sees a gun on the floor, picks it up and fires it. Now of course she misses, but she does end up cracking the frozen pond, and Esther and Kate go straight in. There is a bit of an underwater struggle for a moment, but Kate manages to hit Esther and climb out of the icy hole. And just as she's climbing out, Esther's hand comes out and grabs Kate's foot, begging her mommy not to let her die, to which Kate replies saying, "I am not your fucking mommy," and Kate then gives one hell of a back kick to Esther's face, where Esther ends up breaking her neck. She then ends up slipping back into the water, where she meets an icy watery grave. It's such a satisfying death scene, especially when Kate kicks her in the face. I can remember being like, oh, that must have hurt. A great ending to a brilliant movie. And that was 10 moments from the movie Orphan. So guys, do we have any Orphan fans in here? If we do, then let me know in the comments box below what's your favourite moment from this movie, and are you excited for the new Orphan prequel that's coming out very soon? Let me know all of your thoughts. Okay guys, well thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe, and I'll see you all again very soon.